Since we know the Loomian legacy takes place in Roria, the same town that Pokemon Brick Bronze took place, it's probably reasonable to assume that most of the routes and areas are going to have the same types, similar gyms, and similar types of people that you're going to be going against. So this is a strategy that we're going to develop here all the way up to Silvent City and the first gym. So stick around and check out what we're planning to do here in Loomian Legacy as soon as we get started. What is up, guys, and welcome back to DeeterPlays. So here we are, Loomian Legacy. We're going to talk about a strategy. We already know we started out in Mitis Town in the demo. What happens after the bridge is Route 1. Route 1 leads us to Chestnut Town, then the Gale Forest, then Route 2, Route 3, and Silvent City. Now, each of these different locations, you encounter different Pokemon in the wild, or you did, and I'm guessing that the Loomians are probably going to be similar to the Pokemons that we encountered back in Pokemon Brick Bronze, because we already know that a lot of the types are very similar. So first, we're going to take a really quick look at what our options are, because we don't have all the types of starters available to us. So there's a specific strategy that I'm going to propose. That's at least what I'm going to do when I go through Route 1, the Gale Forest, and Route 2 and Route 3, and the gym. So what we know already, we have a Mbit, which is a fire type, as an option for a starter. We have the Vambat, which is a dark type, as a starter. Its move is a dark type. The Weevil we have over here as an electric type. Okay, so we've got that one. We've got the Snowcub, which is an ice type. We've got the Feevine, which is, it says plant, so we're going to assume that plant is the same as grass, basically, because I guess that's kind of all we can really do. I don't think it's bug. So next one is the Eaglet, which is a light type. Generally, that's probably not something we're going to need until much later. And then the Dripple, which is a water type. So first, let's take a look at what we did here in Pokemon Brick Bronze. The first place we went to after that bridge is Route 1. Now, in Pokemon Brick Bronze, in Route 1, generally what you encountered was some normal type, some flying type, and some bug type. So the normal type, if you look at those as far as weaknesses go, they're weak against fighting type, and they're really strong against ghost type. We don't have any fighting or ghost type there as options, basically, as any of the starters, so it's going to be kind of a bit of a wash, but they're going to have kind of normal moves, and we're going to have normal moves as well, so they're going to be lower level than us, so really what you use against them is not going to matter that much. So Route 1 is going to be pretty easy. I think I'm going to use fire, because I know there's some bug type in here as well, and you can probably end up encountering some bug type, and the bug type are pretty weak against fire. Well, they're weak against several other things like flying and ghost and steel and fairy, but the options that we have is really, like, fire will definitely take out a Wurmple pretty fast. However, you are going to want to collect some bug type, so maybe fire wouldn't be the best option. I would probably have my fire type, but use normal moves against this one just to bring its level down and try to catch some bug type while I'm at it. So I'm going to have fire as the Mbit as my first type that I'm going to pick, and because I'm going to be weak against water, I'm going to probably end up purchasing a Weevil, so I have an electric type, and I can go super strong against any water type that tries to take out my Mbit. So that is Route 1. Just use fire and try to catch bug. After Route 1, you make yourself into Chestnut Town, and Chestnut Town, you get to relax. There's not really any trainers or any wild Pokemon that you have to go up against. You can kind of buy some stuff and get yourself all ready to go to the next place, which is the Gale Forest, which you're going to go into. And inside the Gale Forest, you're going to encounter different stuff in the wild, and then there's also some trainer battles that you're going to have to go up against as well. But in the wild, you're going to see a lot of bug, poison, flying, and kind of normal, and you may encounter an electric, but that's not very typical. But you're going to want to be ready for electric once you get to the first gym, so that's something to consider. In here, you also want to use fire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use fire against a lot of these bug and poison type. The poisons, they're generally weak against like ground and rock and ghost and steel. As you can see here, yes, poison, ground, rock. So those really are not going to be options because we don't have any of those. But we don't want to have a Feevine and we don't want to have a fairy type. Basically, what I'm saying is like if you pick Feevine as your starter, it's not going to be very helpful for you in the first couple areas. It's actually going to be weak, probably against most of that other stuff. So like bug, if you take a Feevine and you try to attack the bug type, chances are it's probably not going to be super effective. So Feevine is the last one I would pick there as your starter. Try to also catch bug type while you're here as well. It might be useful to have some of these because you're going to want to use those later on and have those kind of in your inventory as some options. So while you're here in the Gale Forest, make sure you try to focus on catching some of these different types while you're in there. And when you go up against the trainers, it's kind of a lot of the same stuff. The last trainer there, though, the Eclipse member Linda, she's got, she had a dark and fighting type, so I'm not sure exactly necessarily if the types are going to be the same, or what you're going to be going up, or if there's even going to be a trainer from Eclipse, or if Eclipse member teams are even going to be a thing. I don't know, there's Crest Island, and that was part of their whole thing, so, but anyways, these poison and dark type, you know, fighting and fairy, you're probably not going to run into, like, any fighting or fairy type, so, you know, chances are you're just going to have to kind of go up against them with something that, that is not weak against dark or fighting. So most of the types that you've got access to at this point are not going to be really weak against those types anyways, so I think you're going to be in good shape there against it. Just make sure if there is that trainer battle, you're going to want to make sure that you've got some strong stuff. And it should be a fairly easy battle because your levels are probably going to be a little bit higher than the trainers at that point. Generally, the trainers that you encounter are kind of lower levels than you at first. But once you get to the gym, though, you're going to have a pretty strong team. So that is the Gale Forest, and that's what you're likely to encounter. Again, we're kind of basing this off of what we saw in Pokemon Brick Bronze. We don't know exactly what the Loomians are going to be like here by comparison, but that's what you've got in there. After the Gale Forest, we're going to go into Route 2. Now, Route 2 we start getting into, of course, we've seen plenty of these other normal and flying type. We're going to use the fire up against those guys. Now, we've got some electrics that we might be running into. They are rare, again, for what you might run into here, but you may run into those. I would just use my electric against the electric because it could be a long battle, but I can still fare pretty well against them. Just make sure you don't have any water type that you're going up against these electric. However, though, there's going to be a bunch of water and ground type over there in this area. This is Route 2, so these water types are going to like just perish against my electric. So I'm going to use electric for the most part in Route 2 because it's going to be pretty effective against these water type. Now, if any of these end up being more of a ground type, in Route 2, there's some of these that are kind of like, two types, but they kind of lean more towards the water type. So they were actually pretty weak against electric type. Now, if it was a pure ground type, it wouldn't be wise to use the electric type against them, and that's probably what we're going to be looking at in the Route 3, so we're going to look at that here in a minute. But, these water type might, if you've got a Feevine, if you've got a grass type, the water type aren't going to be very effective against them. Also, same with the bug. So, at this point, you may want to start utilizing a lot of the bug type that you caught in the Gale Forest and in Route 1, and, you may even want to consider getting a Feevine at this point, because it's going to be a grass type, and the water won't be very effective against it. So, if you don't have a strong enough bug team, and this is what I'm thinking, if I don't have a strong enough bug team at this time to go up against these and get these and battle them and take them out, then I'm probably going to end up purchasing a Feevine because it might be a little bit more useful at this point. While you're here also, feel free to try and catch some of the water types, but they're not going to be really effective for you when you go in the gym, which will be coming up fairly soon, because the gym is an electric gym in Silvent City, so those water types are just going to not do very well against the electric. So next we have here is going to be Route 3. In Route 3, we've got a bunch of electrics that we're starting to run into over here. So we're gonna start getting used to these electrics, and that's why these water types aren't really gonna do anything effective for you much at all. So you want to catch as much of these electrics, and also if there is this kind that is bug/ground type, like this Nincada, if there's anything that's like ground type or whatever the comparison, you know, to ground type. Maybe it's going to be rock, or maybe they're going to combine rock and steel and ground and call it earth type. I don't know. Whatever kind of earth type or something that they've got in Loomian Legacy, that you want to catch these. You're going to want to try to get as many of these as possible, because these ground type are super effective against electric. If you look at electric doesn't really have much weakness. I mean, it definitely takes out water and flying really fast. It can fare pretty well against electric, and grass, again, this is another reason you may want to get a Feevine, because it could be effective in the final gym, could be useful, something to have. Don't think we're going to have any dragon type at this point, but the ground moves against electric are super duper effective, and that's why you're going to want to try to get as many of these in Route 3 as you can. The psychic, probably not something that we're going to really need or use, maybe if you're going against some other types, but you know, we're just still assuming that the types that we're going to be running into are going to be kind of the same. But after you go through Route 3 and you've encountered some of these electric, and you've gotten yourself some grounds, and you've gotten some new types, you're going to go to Silvent City. And in Silvent City, all you're going to run into is a bunch of these electric type. You're going to be fighting a bunch of trainers that all have electric, and the final trainer, Chad, he has an electric type as well. So electric, again, we took a look at these, and they're really not strong against the ground type. So whatever type, again, in Route 3 you can get, whether it's earth or ground, whatever they call it, try to catch as many of those as possible and use those here in the Silvent City gym. Make sure you don't have any waters that you're trying to bring into that gym. Like, if you go into the gym with water type, you're gonna die really quick. It's gonna be a very tough one for you. And maybe Feevine. At this point, I may have purchased a Feevine. If not, I'll probably have some, hopefully some other grass type that I've found along the way. Who knows if those are gonna be found in Route 1 or 2 or the Gale Forest or anything. But I think, you know, there's a lot of grass in the forest, so you think that maybe we can get some grass type in the forest as well. So that is the plan, guys. Route 1, the Gale Forest. Route 2, Route 3, Silvent City, the first gym. That is the strategy. Just remember, you know, I'm going to start with fire type and electric type. Route 1, I'm going to use the fire type and try to catch as many bugs as possible. And then in the Gale Forest, also same thing, catch bugs, use fire. Route 2, electric against everything, basically. Try to use my bugs against the ground. Try to catch any waters or grounds that we can use maybe later on in the game. And then in Route 3, try to catch the ground and get a strong team of electric as well. And then go into Gym 1, well, Battle Theater 1, with some electric, with some ground, and with some grass types. So I hope that's been helpful for you guys. I am super hyped about Loomian Legacy being released, and I can't wait. I'm going to make a bunch of videos. We're going to do live streams. We're going to do battles. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you've got the notification bell on so you guys can come and hang out with us when we do that. Alright, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys later.